The galaxy was wide, filled with empires that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. They had built fleets that stretched across systems, stations the size of moons, and weapons that could shatter planets. Among them, Earth was nothing more than a small blue world circling its sun quietly, ignored by most and mocked by the rest. To the great alien powers, humanity was a joke. Their fleets were small, their colonies were few, and their technology seemed fragile compared to ancient machines that had ruled the void for millennia. At every council meeting of the Galactic Collective, Earth was spoken of as a minor species, a child that had stumbled into space and was now trying to sit at the table of giants. Delegates laughed at human representatives. They said Earth had no strength. They said humans had no secret weapons, no ancient knowledge, no fleet that could stand against a real enemy. Earth is defenseless, one alien ambassador declared in front of 1,000 voices, his tentacles waving with amusement. If ever war comes, humanity will be crushed in a single day. The chamber roared with laughter, and no human could answer that insult. Not yet. Ships from stronger empires often passed by Earth without fear. Some even entered orbit, their weapons locked but never fired, just to show how weak humanity seemed. They hovered above Earth's cities like predators circling prey. People looked up at the night sky and saw shadows drifting across the stars, reminders that their world was watched by enemies far beyond their reach. And still, Earth remained silent. The leaders of the United Earth government gave speeches of peace. They spoke of cooperation, of patience, of diplomacy. To the outside galaxy, this made humanity seem even weaker. To the great powers, peace was only the language of the powerless. Rumors spread among the stars that Earth was a soft world, that humans had no stomach for real war. Pirates even began to whisper of raids, believing Earth would never be able to resist. But beneath the oceans, where the deepest trenches swallowed all light, where no alien scanners could reach, something else was happening. Engineers worked in silence. Soldiers trained in secrecy. Commanders watched the stars not with fear, but with cold patience. While the galaxy laughed, Earth was building something no one would expect. Still, the galaxy saw only weakness. On Alien. Broadcasts across distant colonies, Earth was mocked openly. News anchors with glowing eyes and scaled faces told stories of how primitive humans struggled to survive even on their homeworld. They showed images of Earth's small orbital defenses, calling them toys. They compared human ships to rusting, fishing boats compared to the grand battleships of the Collective. Entire shows were made for alien audiences just to laugh at Earth's weakness. Young alien cadets in military academies were taught the same lesson again and again. If you face humans in battle, you will not face a fight. You will face surrender. Their instructors told them that humans would fold at the first sight of a true fleet, that their spirit was nothing compared to the iron will of older species. Humanity was painted as prey, small, fragile, forgettable prey. And yet, even prey can learn to fight when cornered. On Earth, the people heard the insults. They saw the broadcasts. They knew the galaxy mocked them. Farmers in the fields, workers in the factories, children in schools. They all carried the same quiet anger. Humanity was patient, but patience was not weakness. Deep down, every human knew something the galaxy did not. Silence does not mean surrender. In the cities, life went on. Lights glowed at night. Ships traveled from Earth to Mars and back, and people lived their lives under the shadow of alien arrogance. But under the seas, in the darkness where even sunlight could not reach, steel monsters waited. Their forms were hidden, their power unknown. Entire fleets rested in the abyss, asleep but ready. Only a few in power knew the truth. They kept their faces calm when alien delegates laughed at them. They bowed their heads when ambassadors mocked their weakness. But inside they smiled a different smile, the smile of those who carried a secret so deep, so powerful, that it could turn mockery into fear in a single day. And so the galaxy continued its laughter. Empires watched Earth and thought it small, Pirates eyed it as prey. Armies trained to one day take it without a fight. But the oceans of Earth, silent and endless, hid a promise. For in the deep trenches, in the crushing dark where no alien dared to look, humanity was building its answer. They thought Earth was weak. They thought humans were defenseless. But the day was coming when the laughter would end. And when it ended, the sound that followed would not be silence. It would be the roar of warships rising from the abyss. The galaxy's laughter did not last forever. Eventually, mockery turned into action. Far beyond Earth's sun, deep in the outer rim, an alien armada stirred. The Korath Dominion, a predator empire that had crushed dozens of weaker worlds, turned its eyes toward the small, blue planet. They had heard the stories of Earth's weakness, they had joined in the laughter, and now they hungered for proof. The Korath did not want peace. They wanted resources, slaves, and glory. Their ships, black and jagged, gathered like a storm. Each vessel carried weapons forged to shatter continents, engines that burned brighter than stars, and soldiers bred only for conquest. In their war councils, Earth was spoken of not as an enemy, but as prey to be harvested. The order was simple. March on Sol. Take Earth. Show the galaxy that the Dominion's will was law. The fleet's arrival was sudden. One night, the people of Earth looked at their skies and saw strange lights moving among the stars. At first, many thought they were meteors, but then, as more appeared, as scanners lit up with foreign signatures, fear spread. Governments went silent. Military stations sent desperate reports. Something massive had entered the system. The Korath ships did not hide. They descended into orbit boldly, casting shadows over Earth's oceans and cities. Great black silhouettes blotted out the stars, and alien voices echoed on every frequency. Their words were translated into 100 languages. Humans, you are surrounded. You have no fleet. You have no defenses. Surrender your world, or we will burn it. On the streets of Earth's cities, panic took hold. People rushed into shelters. Families clung together, and soldiers looked to the skies with helpless rage. The images on every broadcast were the same. Alien warships hanging over the planet like vultures circling their prey. In the halls of the United Earth government, leaders argued. Some shouted for surrender, believing resistance meant certain destruction. Others demanded war, no matter the cost, unwilling to kneel before invaders. Their voices clashed, their words heavy with fear. But in a hidden chamber, far below the surface, calm eyes watched the skies with a different kind of silence. Admiral Rhodes, one of the few who knew the secret, stood in a command center buried beneath the ocean floor. Screens showed the alien fleet in orbit, their numbers overwhelming. Yet Rhodes did not tremble. He turned to his officers and gave the first quiet order. Wake them. Across the seas of Earth, alarms rang where no human ear could hear. In Earth, the trenches of the Pacific and the black silence of the Atlantic abyss, great steel doors began to rumble. For decades they had been sealed shut, hiding humanity's last hope. Now, they opened slowly, releasing waves of bubbles and darkness into the deep. Still, the world above knew nothing. The aliens grew impatient. They began to demonstrate their power. One ship fired a beam of plasma that streaked across the sky and struck the lunar surface, carving a glowing scar into the moon. Another unleashed a barrage of energy against one of Earth's orbital stations, turning it into a ball of fire. Across the planet, screams filled the airwaves. The message was clear: surrender or burn. But humanity did not respond. The silence from Earth only made the Korath laugh louder. They believed the humans were frozen with fear, unable to act. Their commanders boasted of the slaves they would take, of the cities they would loot, of the riches they would plunder. They gave Earth one final warning. You have one day. Give us your world or we will take it. And still, Earth remained silent. But the silence was not weakness. It was preparation. Beneath the waves, the sleeping giants stirred. Engineers watched as enormous reactors roared to life, vast hulls of reinforced steel, designed to withstand not only the pressure of the ocean, but the fury of war, began to rise. Their forms were monstrous, their weapons bristling, their engines humming with power. One by one, the abyss gave birth to warships. They were nothing like the galaxy had ever seen. Submersible behemoths, built to hide in the deep and strike so, from the shadows. To the Korath above, Earth still looked powerless. But the seas knew the truth. Humanity was ready. In the cities, fear still ruled. Families huddled together. Soldiers stood guard with trembling weapons, and children asked questions their parents could not answer. Above them, alien ships prowled, their weapons primed. But far below, far out of sight, Earth's real strength was awakening. Admiral Rhodes spoke again, his voice steady, his eyes sharp. Let them think we are afraid. Let them believe we are weak. When the time comes, we will rise. The officers around him nodded. Their faces carried no fear now, only fire. They had lived with the secret for years, knowing one day it would be needed. That day had come. The countdown began. Hours ticked away. The alien fleet drifted in silence, waiting for surrender. On Earth's surface, despair deepened. But in the oceans, light began to spread, glowing through the waves like dawn breaking in the dark. The warships were rising, and soon the galaxy would learn that silence was never weakness. It was the warning before the storm. The day of the deadline arrived. Above Earth, the Korath fleet hovered like vultures. Dozens of black warships spread across the sky, their weapons armed, their commanders ready to burn a planet that dared to stay silent. On Earth's surface, fear reached its breaking point. Crowds filled the streets, staring upward at the glowing alien vessels. News channels repeated the same message: humanity had no chance. Families wept. Soldiers gripped their rifles, knowing they were useless against ships larger than mountains. And leaders sat in their bunkers waiting for the end. But under the oceans, the end was not coming. The beginning was. Deep below the waves, in the endless dark where light could not reach, machines stirred. Vast hangars carved into the sea floor came alive, their doors sliding open after decades of silence. Towers of steel, hidden from alien, eyes lit with blue and white fire. One by one, massive shadows moved in the water, their hulls stretching longer than skyscrapers, their weapons bristling like the teeth of predators. They were not submarines. They were not starships. They were both. Hybrid war machines designed in secret, tested in silence, and perfected in the crushing pressure of the deep. They had been born from fear of mockery, forged by the anger of being underestimated. Now they were ready to rise. Inside one of these behemoths, Commander Elena Ward stood on the bridge. Around her, crew members worked with calm precision. They had trained their entire lives for this day, though they had prayed it would never come. Elena's voice was steady as she gave the order that would change history. Surface. All ships. Now. Engines roared. The ocean boiled. Across every sea, the abyss broke open. Gigantic warships surged upward, breaking through the waves with thunder louder than storms. Water cascaded off their armored hulls, shimmering in the sunlight as they rose higher and higher. Dozens, then hundreds. Entire fleets emerged from the deep, their numbers hidden for so long that even Earth's own people gasped in disbelief. On the coasts, crowds stopped crying and started cheering. Children pointed in awe as colossal ships pushed through the surf, their cannons glowing with energy, their hulls painted with the flag of Earth. The hopelessness that had filled every heart vanished in an instant. Humanity had not been defenseless. Humanity had been waiting. Above, the alien fleet wavered. Their scanners lit up with signals they had never seen before. Officers shouted, captains barked orders, but none of them understood what was happening. This was not in their intelligence. Reports. No spy had uncovered this, no rumor had spoken of this. Earth, the weak world, had just unleashed a fleet that should not exist. From orbit, the first alien commander sneered, unwilling to accept the truth. Primitive toys, he hissed. Sink them. But the moment his ships fired, Earth answered. From the decks of the rising warships, missiles launched into the skies, piercing the clouds and striking alien vessels with pinpoint accuracy. Energy beams cut through shields, tearing into the black hulls of the invaders. For the first time, the Korath screamed, not with laughter, but with fear. Commander Ward watched the first alien cruiser explode in the sky. Her crew erupted with cheers, but she lifted her hand, silencing them. Her voice was sharp, cold, and filled with fire. This is not victory yet. This is justice. For every insult, for every laugh, for every time they called us weak, we fight until the stars themselves know our strength. The fleet roared forward. Alien ships fell from orbit, trailing fire. Waves of panic swept through the Korath armada as more and more human warships rose from the seas. Their designs were brutal, angular, armored, forged for survival in both ocean pressure and the vacuum of space. Every weapon strike carried the fury of a planet that had been mocked for too long. On Earth, the people who had been weeping now shouted in triumph. They filled the streets, chanting as the skies lit up with fire. They watched through tears of pride as their hidden defenders struck back. Hope had returned, burning brighter than ever. The galaxy beyond watched too. On distant colonies, alien leaders sat in silence as reports came flooding in. Screens across star systems showed the impossible, Earth's oceans vomiting fleets of death. For centuries, humanity had been mocked as fragile. Now the truth was undeniable. Earth had been silent but never weak. In a single day, the galaxy's laughter turned into fear. The awakening of the fleet was not just a battle, it was a declaration. Humanity would no longer sit at the table as prey. They would not beg for mercy. They would not bow. From the depths of their world they had risen, and the galaxy would never forget the sight of those warships breaking the surface. The invaders had thought Earth was defenseless. Now, as the first of their ships fell in burning ruin, they realized the terrible mistake. The mistake of underestimating humanity, and the storm had only just begun. The skies above Earth burned. Alien warships drifted in chaos, their neat formation broken as missiles and beams from the rising human fleet cut into their ranks. For the first time, the Korath Dominion felt something they had not felt in centuries. Fear. But fear did not stop them. With roars that shook their own hulls, the alien commanders ordered retaliation. From orbit, lances of plasma and torrents of fire rained down on the seas. Oceans boiled as colossal blasts crashed into the waves. Entire coastlines trembled, cities shook, and the world seemed to cry under the fury of the invaders. Yet the oceans hid more than just water. They hid predators. From beneath the surface, Earth's warships surged upward, meeting the alien fire with shields of their own. The crushing pressure of the deep had forged their armor into something stronger than the invaders could have imagined. Blows that would shatter lesser ships broke harmlessly against the reinforced plating. The fleet did not sink. It rose. On the bridge of the flagship Leviathan, Commander Ward stood with her eyes fixed on the alien mothership above. Her crew worked frantically, voices sharp but steady, feeding her data on enemy positions. Sparks flew across the room as consoles flickered from near-miss impacts. Still, Ward's voice remained calm. Target their flagship, bring them down. Across the fleet, the order echoed. Massive cannons extended, their barrels glowing with energy. Missiles shot from hidden bays, streaking into the sky like burning arrows. The humans had no ancient technology, no alien secrets, but they had built weapons with raw fury, weapons meant to tear arrogance apart. The first volley struck. Alien cruisers, sleek and deadly, erupted into flames. Their hulls split open as fire poured into the void. The Korath screamed in disbelief as one after another of their warships fell, crashing into the seas below with explosions that sent tsunamis rushing to distant shores. But the Dominion did not retreat. They poured their wrath into Earth with twice the fury. Dozens of warships unleashed a storm of plasma fire, and for a moment, the oceans themselves seemed to ignite. The water boiled, the sky cracked with light, and human ships vanished in pillars of steam and flame. Earth's people watched in horror as some of their guardians fell. Families who had just begun to cheer screamed again as fire lit the horizon. The battle was not victory, it was survival. Yet humanity had something the aliens did not. Rage born from centuries of mockery. The surviving warships rose higher, cutting through the smoke and fire. Engines roared, cannons thundered, and the E-2 fleet pushed forward like a wall of steel. The humans fought not only with weapons but with fury, each strike carrying the weight of every insult the galaxy had ever thrown upon them. The aliens felt it. For the first time, their commanders shouted in panic. The Korath fleet, used to easy victories, began to crumble under resistance they could not understand. Their shields failed. Their formations collapsed. Their screams filled the channels, echoing across the stars. Then came the moment that would be remembered forever. The Leviathan charged its main weapon, a cannon designed not for show, but for destruction. Power surged through its core, shaking the ship to its bones. Crew members held their breath as the weapon locked onto the enemy flagship above. Commander Ward gave no speech, no warning. Only one word: fire. A beam of white light tore upward, slicing the sky in two. It struck the alien mothership dead center. For a heartbeat, there was silence. Then the ship exploded, a sun blooming in orbit. Debris rained down like meteors, burning as they fell. The Korath flagship, the pride of their fleet, was gone. Earth's cities erupted in cheers. Across every screen, across every shelter, the people of Earth roared with joy. The impossible had happened. The invincible had fallen. But on the battlefield, there was no time to celebrate. The surviving alien warships screamed their fury, turning, all fire toward the Leviathan. Plasma blasts hammered its shields, shaking the colossal vessel to its core. Warning lights blazed across the bridge. Officers shouted damage reports. Still, Ward stood tall. "Hold the line," she commanded. "Do not break," the rest of the fleet answered. Warships closed ranks around the flagship, forming a shield wall of steel and fire. Together they unleashed another storm of missiles and beams, tearing holes in the alien lines. The ocean and the sky became one battlefield, waves crashing. With fire, clouds torn apart by thunder, the Korath fought with desperation. Humanity fought with defiance. At last, as the battle raged into its final hours, the alien fleet began to falter. Their ships turned, engines burning bright as they tried to flee. The Dominion had come to Earth expecting surrender. Instead, they had met the fury of a world they could not conquer. And as the last of their cruisers fell into the sea, silence returned. The ocean was black with smoke. The skies were filled with the glow of burning wrecks. Earth's fleet, scarred and battered, hovered above the waves like monsters born from nightmares. Humanity had survived. Humanity had fought. And for the first time, the galaxy would learn to fear the depths of Earth. The battle was over. The oceans were calm again, though black smoke curled from the wreckage of alien warships sinking into the deep. Pieces of burning metal drifted across the waves like broken stars. The skies above Earth still glowed with the fire of destroyed vessels, their shattered hulls falling through the atmosphere in streaks of light. On the coasts, crowds stood in silence. They had witnessed the end of despair and the birth of something new. Families who had once wept now held each other with pride. Soldiers raised their weapons to the sky, shouting not in fear but in victory. For the first time, humanity had stood against a galactic power, and humanity had not fallen. In orbit, the last Korath ships fled, their engines screaming as they limped away from the planet they had thought defenseless. Their commanders did not boast now. They whispered in terror, their voices shaking as they transmitted desperate warnings to the Dominion's high command. Earth is not weak. Earth has risen. Earth is death. And far beyond, in the halls of alien governments, the reports spread like fire. On colonies light years away, screens showed the impossible footage, warships rising from Earth's oceans like giants of steel, tearing apart the invaders. Entire fleets of submerged vessels no one had ever known existed. Alien ambassadors watched in silence, their mocking smiles fading into grim frowns. The species they had called prey had just killed a predator empire's fleet. In the council, Chambers of the Galactic Collective, where laughter had once filled the halls at humanity's expense, silence now ruled. Not one delegate dared to speak, not one dared to laugh. Every eye stared at the same recording, the destruction of the Korath flagship, the shattering of their armada, the roar of Earth's hidden fleet. A single sentence was whispered again and again. Never mistake silence for weakness. Back. On Earth, Admiral Rhodes stood in the command center beneath the sea. His face was tired, his uniform scorched with smoke, but his eyes carried a quiet fire. Around him, officers cheered, embracing each other, some even crying from relief. Rhodes did not cheer. He simply looked at the map of the destroyed fleet and whispered, "We told them nothing," and still they learned. On the Leviathan, Commander Elena Ward stood on the bridge, her crew battered but alive. She gazed out the viewport at the burning remains of alien ships drifting through the sky. Her heart was heavy with the cost. Human warships had fallen. Brave crews had died, but her voice was strong as she spoke to her people. They thought we were prey. They thought our oceans were empty. But from these depths we have risen, and the galaxy will remember this day, not as the day humanity was conquered, but the day humanity stood unbroken. Her words were carried across every channel. Billions listened. Billions felt pride. And billions felt something else. Power. For too long, humanity had been mocked, laughed at, ignored. Now they had spoken not with words, but with warships forged in silence. And their voice had been heard in every corner of the stars. The Korath Dominion, humiliated, retreated into their territories. Their fleets no longer looked unstoppable. Their enemies, once afraid of them, now whispered of their defeat. And those whispers grew into rumors. Rumors that Earth had shattered the Dominion's pride, that Earth had weapons hidden in every ocean, that Earth was not a world to conquer but a world to fear. In taverns on alien colonies, smugglers and traders spoke with wide eyes. The humans, they said, they built a fleet under their seas, a fleet that no one knew about, a fleet that destroyed the Dominion. Fear mixed with respect mixed with awe, and soon, awe turned into legend. The galaxy trembled. Earth, the oceans grew quiet once more. The warships, scarred and smoking, returned to the abyss. Their hulls disappeared beneath the waves, leaving only ripples on the surface. To the world above, it looked as if nothing had changed. But the people knew better. Humanity now carried a secret that was no longer secret. The depths had risen. The galaxy had seen. And from that day on, no empire, no council, no dominion would ever laugh at Earth again, because they now understood the truth. Earth had been silent only to prepare, and when humanity spoke, they spoke with fire.